She wished she'd worn her heavier knit cap. The long scar above her right ear was starting to ache. She rubbed it and wished Gunnar would hurry. A town police car slowly pulled into the alley. The emergency lights on top of the cruiser were on, but the siren wasn't, which Annie considered a small mercy given her current sensitivity to loud sounds. The officer parked diagonally, blocking the alley, then got out of the car. Annie stepped out of the garage to see who'd caught the call and recognized Officer Mike Hart. He smiled. "Detective? It's just Annie now, Mike," she said, smiling back but feeling a little twinge at the change in her status. "Oh, right. Sorry. I'm never going to get used to that." Mike had been on the force for only a few years when Annie left, but he'd been one of her students at the academy. "It's fine," Annie said. She'd had a little trouble getting used to it herself. "Dispatch said you found a body?" Annie pointed toward the wall. "See the leg?" "Yeah. What do you think? Accident?" Annie shrugged. "I'm guessing he fell. It was really icy last night. Can't be sure, though. He's covered in snow, and I didn't want to disturb anything." She wouldn't have wanted to work the scene. Snow was a mess. Not as bad as rain, but trace evidence was still hard to locate. Mike got out his notepad. "When did you find him?" "Just a few minutes ago. You'll see my tracks and my dog's. I didn't see any others." He walked over to look at the body, careful to step in Annie's tracks. He cordoned off the area with yellow police tape and took photos of the scene. Gunnar's unmarked car pulled into the alley a few minutes later. Annie watched as her former partner got out of his car like a Viking in a suit. He spoke to Mike. At 6'8", Detective Gunnar Janssen dwarfed the other officer. Annie smiled. She'd missed the big man. He pulled on latex gloves and checked the man's pockets for identification. While she waited for him to come talk to her, 2 more patrol cars arrived in the alley. Annie tried to figure out which shop owned the patio where the body was. It didn't belong to any of the restaurants. She counted from the corner vintner and ruled out the jewelry store and the spa. The property had to be Susan Sundry's, which had opened in the fall. "Hey," Gunnar said, walking up to her. "How are you doing?" "Aside from finding him?" She nodded toward the dead man. "I'm okay. Freezing, but okay. I have an appointment in a little while, though. I need to get going." She pressed at the scar, which continued aching in the cold wind. Gunnar nodded. Sure. I appreciate you waiting. You want to tell me what happened?" Other police vehicles arrived behind him. "There's not much to tell," Annie said. "I was walking my dog, and he noticed the body and started barking." Gunnar held his hand out to Chester. "He's missing an eye," Gunnar said. Annie nodded. "I always said you were a great detective." Gunnar snorted. "He was like that when I found him," she said. Being on this side of an interview with Gunnar was strange. The Leesburg Police Department didn't officially partner up their detectives, but people sort of gravitated toward each other, and Annie had usually worked with Gunnar. "I don't suppose you walked him last night and noticed anything suspicious going on in the alley?" Gunnar asked. "No, I don't walk him this way at night. This is our morning route." "My old lab would be jealous," Gunnar said. "She's lucky if she gets walked a couple times a week." Annie remembered how fat Gunnar's lab was. "It's good for both of us." Gunnar smiled. "I can see that. You look great, Annie." "Thanks." She wished she could say the same of him, but Gunnar looked as though he'd put on a few pounds, and his face was redder than it should have been, even in the cold. His thick blonde hair was shaggier than she'd ever seen it, and he needed a shave. When they'd worked together, he was always pressed and ready to go. So seeing him looking unkempt at all was weird, even at this early hour. While they were talking, Bernie Smith, the crime scene tech, arrived. She knelt over the body and had Mike assist her in rolling the poor guy over. Annie couldn't see his face from where she was standing. The man was on his back with his hands frozen.